Hi everyone. This is our 6th or 7th episode of Build with Stakki. And this week we have Catherine Olivier, VP of Sales Development over at Cognism, joining us. Catherine, thank you for joining us. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about, maybe your team at the moment?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, James. So my name is Catherine Olivier. I work as the VP of Global SDRs at Cognism, and I joined in November 24. So it's been a few months now for me. I've managed SDR organizations for way longer than I dare say, but it's been a while. Currently, I've got a global team, so I've got quite a few SDRs based in the UK. I've got SDRs based in Cologne, in Paris, in Boston, and I shouldn't forget my Lone Ranger in Sydney. So it's a nice spread at the moment.
And also, you're very kind not to have corrected me there on pronouncing your last name.
That's all right.
Olivier. I'll get that right in the future. So that's a big team, quite a spread out team, with including the Lone Ranger out in Sydney. That must bring a lot of management, coordination and considerations that you have to think of.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's good that I've got a structure where there's a manager in every region. Apart from in Australia, he reports into the American team because currently with the time zones, that's the most overlap we could get.
Okay. Interesting.
But yeah, it does work. We have the golden ratio, I would almost call it, where no manager has more than 7 people reporting into them.
I was just about to ask you, what is that ratio? Because me and you are both big in the SDR Leaders of EMEA group, and we consistently see people asking for advice around size of team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think myself at my peak, I think that sweet spot for me was always between, like you say, 6 to 10, somewhere between in that sort of range. And then that depends on how many, senior leaders you have within that team or managers under you and there's always the little nuances. But you think 7's the Goldilocks
But
level?
for an SDR manager with SDRs, I would say so. It does depend a little bit on whether it's 7 rookies that you need to completely train up, or whether some of them at least know what they're doing a little bit that you can let go of. But yeah, throughout my career, I think the most SDRs that I ever had as an SDR manager was 16, which was insane.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, which really showed okay, can't do this. And then when that split in 2 and it was 2 times 8, it's okay, this is a lot better. Ideally, still a little bit smaller so that you can spend more time coaching and all of that. So for now, I try to stick with no more than 7. So several of my managers have 7. I think one has 6 and one has 5. But in general, that seems to work just.
Yeah, that's I think that's a fairly good sweet spot then. And it also depends on, the role of that manager, in the sense of, are they a player manager? So do they have to also, or are they just coach, train, manage?
On my team at the moment, they fully just coach, train, and support. They tend to like getting involved and play around a little bit sometimes, especially when we do competitions. But
Set an example.
yeah, but they don't have their own quota of meetings to set or anything like that.
Okay, nice. The other thing then I was always curious about, because when at my old company we had the team split between all the new hires, the rookies, people with no experience. They were all in my team, and then we had other managers for the more senior teams. And then when we got above maybe 10 people, I'd have a couple of those senior people within my team to help manage all those juniors. But are you splitting the teams by sort of seniority and stuff as much as you can, or do you have sort of a mixture within each team?
Apart from in the UK, it's a mixture because the teams in America, France, and Germany are just too small, I would say, to split that out. So it's just regionally based, and they've got a mix of everything. In the UK, we've got 3 different teams. So we've got a commercial team, a mid-market team, and an enterprise team. So it's by segment as the size of the business goes up, right? Logically, the juniors, the newbies sit on our commercial team. So there's one manager that has more newbies than any of the others.
That makes sense. And I think that's best do you think that's best for their progression and pace of learning and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Or?
I think it's good to be grouped up together and learn from each other and bounce off each other and then learn that all together, rather than being the only one in there and going, oh my God, what's going on?
Absolutely. Like creating that environment where they learn from each other, they will learn much faster, they can mirror each other, they can support each other, they're going through the same things at the same time, which also probably makes it a bit easier for your managers to get through.
It is. I mean, we try to onboard as many people together as possible. So we just had a cohort start last Monday, and we just tend to try to get all the new hires on board every first Monday of the month, rather than just spreading them out everywhere and hoping for the best.
Yeah. You've got to do it in chunks and groups, so you know, like you can group all the training and all that type of stuff, right? Nice. And curious as well. Then, are they sort of remote, hybrid? How many of them?
So at Cognism, we are fully in the office. It's like the premise. The SDR team are in the office 5 days a week is like the rule. However, every single one of the SDRs has a 5 days working from home a month allowance
Okay,
that
nice.
they can apply as they see fit, I would almost say, right? So very often it's like having like a day a week off and then one more that you might need for appointments or anything
Yeah,
like that. We try to aim for like the core days being Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that everyone's in the office. So try to do your working from home days on a Monday or a Friday if you can, right? So we continue with as many people in the office as possible on 3 days. But it also opens up like the possibility for us to like do spiffs to win more working from home days and stuff
yeah.
like that.
That is actually a great idea, actually, because I mean, we see this. I'm sure there are plenty of people that will be saying, "Oh, in the office that much." People make their own judgments and whatever. But I think SDRs need to be in the office. The more you're in the office, the faster you learn, the quicker you can hit your target, the more you enjoy work.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I would say I'm doing a disservice to all the SDRs I managed remotely over the years that did really, really well.
Yeah,
So both before and during COVID, I had fully remote SDR teams. And to be fair, it was all right. It's just a completely different style of managing. Plus, I have to admit, it did mean that we weren't necessarily hiring as many graduates or rookies. It
yeah,
was
yeah,
the guys that knew a little bit of what was going on and could hit the ground running by
absolutely.
themselves. And I think being in the office allows us to just hire the ones for whom it's their very first SDR.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had a similar experience during like COVID. Like suddenly overnight, everyone was remote, and the structure to like management changed like dramatically. And that's like before COVID, we were, at my business we were all sort of player managers where we also had a number of meetings and stuff to hit because we were an outsourced agency. But that changed a little bit as we got more remote, and it became much more understandable that if I can train 6 people, and that means I need to be on calls like with them constantly, like every day, especially if I graduates and rookies, that's going to be much more beneficial than me actually making a few extra meetings. And you have to change things quite rapidly. So let's dive into. I'm sure people will be loving to see what tools Cognism are actually
Hmm.
using and stuff, and I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of Cognism and some of the updates that you guys have made recently and what's going. But let's dive into building with Stakki then. So we'll work through and just open up a conversation. But which, as a starting point, which CRM is the foundation?
We have Salesforce.
Excellent. Probably not surprising. Big enterprise business.
Yeah. And generally, I've never used anything else.
Really,
So,
never.
yeah, odd, huh?
Yeah, fair. Um, Salesforce is great. How how do you? What are the key things that you would suggest people like look out for to really support their SDR team with Salesforce?
Really solid dashboards and reports, I would say. So I'm currently actually working through a project with our operations team to go like, okay, we've got all these dashboards, but are people actually using them? Do we want other things to show on there? Do we need to take things away? Because also the metrics that we measure change over time, and then you just need to make sure that all your reporting kind of keeps up with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I remember putting reports out, putting them into spreadsheets at different times, and you need that in the system. You need that in the CRM. The thing I'd add and thing I'd be curious about is like segmentation, and like list list building, that type of stuff for your SDRs. with a big team that you've got in different regions, how like strict are you on that segmentation of like accounts for reps, or can they find
Very.
their own accounts?
Nope. Very strict. So obviously split by regions, right? So you can't go and sell outside of your region. Those SDRs that are split into the segments, whether you're like mid-market or whether you're enterprise, it's linked to at the moment it's linked to the number of employees that a company has, so how big a company is effectively. And again, as much as possible, don't sell outside of your segment. So
Yeah,
stick with that.
absolutely.
And then within that, obviously, when you have multiple AEs, they have their own territories. We've split it in a lot of places, like with verticals. So stick with that, right? So there is a lot of operational lift happening for us, where we're making sure that everyone has the right lists.
Yeah, absolutely. And like one of the key things I see with people like trying to build new SDR teams, or maybe haven't got like the experience that you have, is they'll build the CRM and they'll take it out of the box. Like CRM is built really well for the sales cycle and customer relationships, but that like sales development tracking of all like the contact level stuff is a lot harder. So real segmentation, real list building specific to reps is going to increase like their activity, make it easier for you to track and all those dashboards. Cool. So then once you've got Salesforce, how are you getting those lists, those segmentation? How are you getting all of that data? It's obviously one tool we know will be mentioned. So I'll just go ahead and add
Surprisingly, we use
Cognism.
Cognism. I know. Who would have thought?
Crazy. There's some
Cognism for
exciting
sure.
updates though. There's some really good like updates that you guys have got coming through at the moment with agents and stuff like that. Am I right?
Yes, I wouldn't call it necessarily agents. Yes, companion. They call it. It's not like someone sitting there telling you what to do, but it's definitely showing like signals, and you can load your list and you can load the personas that you're interested in, and then it will tell you exactly what's going on in your space as an SDR or as an
Yeah.
AE. You can go, okay, this is my list, this is my personas. Oh my God, this is happening. So I can prioritize a lot better.
Nice. And so is that the main place of work for your team? I assume they spend more than 50% of their time in Cognism itself.
In Cognism, and another tool that my SDRs heavily use is Scratchpad.
Okay, yeah, that's been mentioned before, but it's not on here
Yeah.
yet.
Well, there you go.
Scratchpad helps get the data to the CRM or pull it all to one
Yeah,
place.
so they're using it so they don't have to flick through tabs in Salesforce the whole time, like, oh, this account and then this account, etc., etc. So they just have one big Scratchpad where they can totally populate and note down and search what it is that they're doing and what they're working on.
That sounds really good, because one of the key things, and we've spoken about this before briefly, I think, like, is distraction for reps, like them jumping between tabs, opening the next Chrome extension, flicking through 3 or 4 different Chrome extensions. It all slows down them adding numbers, trying to connect to somebody.
Totally.
And that should be their sole focus, and then getting the meetings attended. If it's outside of that and they're jumping between things, you slow them down, and then you cause headaches, and then you cause frustration, and then they suddenly behind target.
No, absolutely. So it's definitely like a point of focus all the time and making sure that they got the tool they need, but not so many tools that it gets distracting and they
Yeah,
can't focus. So yeah, so that's a big one for my SDR team at least.
very nice, very nice. And so, where else are there any other tools then you're using
We
for
do use LinkedIn Sales Nav as well.
one of the best tools for obviously accurate data list building?
And that would be it, I think.
Yes.
So shout out to Casper, who of course are part
Yeah,
of Cognism.
yeah. Casper is a tool that I love. It's just so simple, and like, my bias from purely being cold calling, I just need a nice Chrome extension that I can just pull numbers from. Cognism Lite, I hear people refer to it as. Is that fair, or is that oversimplifying it?
I think, to be fair, I think it's fair. Yes. I think the data is like similar, right? You just have not the functionality that you'd get with like the full on Cognism.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. So this is just again, this is like obviously we would expect it's going to be Cognizant for this build with Stakki, but what you've got is just like a nice clean source here. You're not giving them 12 different sources, asking them to like flick through different things.
No, and genuinely, and I'm not just saying that, but I don't really get any complaints from my team going, I don't have the right data.
Yeah,
My data is not right.
that would
You
be
know what I
very
mean?
worrying if they did.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the point, right? Like that's also why I used it in my previous organizations as well, because you just know it, it does what it need to do, and then that's just nice.
Yeah, and we in one of the roundtables we did with the SDR leaders of EMEA, I think last quarter, I think it was Harry Monkhouse who he's fairly new at his current role. He was looking at the different data options, and he did a test of Cognism against numerous others, and Cognism had by far like the I think the most accurate and the best coverage for like EMEA. So I wish I'd written down or asked him what the actual stats were, but I know I know people can vouch for it. Nice. So then, what other tools are we looking at? We've got intent, we've got engagement.
So engagement, I've got a funny one for you. So our SDR team uses Outreach,
Okay, yeah,
and our AEs and our AMs use Salesloft at the moment. Don't ask me how that came to
perfect.
be. I don't know.
Interesting.
But we're on as an SDR group, we're on Outreach.
Okay, outreach is still on my backlog to add to this. I'm just going to add Salesloft in for now.
Oh, that's fine. You're not lying either there.
Yeah,
And we're using Gong. I see Gong on there. SDR is very much for recording the calls, getting back into it,
yeah,
reading up on what calls have happened before, etc., etc., etc. And what was surprising to me, just because I hadn't seen that done before, our AEs use it for their pipeline forecasting.
yeah, yeah. The deal forecasting that Gong have built over the last couple of years is really good, really accurate, really helps AEs like with I guess the deal velocity,
Hmm.
which is going to help your SDRs earn faster as well, I assume.
Yep. So that's what we are using.
Any plans on consolidating to the SDRs or the AMs over to sales after outreach?
One or the other. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's
I think
definitely
so.
always one of those discussions as to, I'm not so sure what we're gonna do. Don't know where that stands.
Interesting. Interesting. And now you've got Gong Engage as well. So you could even just stick with Gong and remove the other two.
Don't give me ideas now. Yeah, potentially.
It's literally my job. Help
Yeah,
consolidate.
I'll definitely bring that up when they're starting to do the like which one of the two we keep, and I'll go. Well, there's a third one. Why not just do that?
There's a third option. And, if I suppose you want to score the three on what is having the biggest impact on pipeline and deal velocity, and then see, I guess, then compare that against the cost saves. But obviously, consolidating to one, you'd imagine there'd be a decent cost save. Excellent. And with that, then I assume with those tools, you're probably using the inbuilt dialers, or have you got a
Yeah, so we're
separate one?
using our dialer in Outreach,
Mhm.
likely also the one in Salesloft. I don't know. That's not my team. I'm in the process of considering whether it's useful to get a dialer for our team. Talking to all the right people, I think. Forum, Nooks, Trellis, like it's like
Mhm.
just looking around to see what works. Not gone as far as starting a trial yet or anything like that, but it's just it's on the back burner for a little bit. We're not like a massive calling house with hundreds of calls a day or anything like that, but maybe it would go up if it was easier. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. I guess, are you trying to help the guys make more calls, and you're kind of considering like the power or the parallel dialers, or are you just looking for like a more reliable dialer? What's the
I think it's mostly efficiency. It's either the keep the number of calls that you're doing, but just do them a lot faster,
yeah,
or you can probably do more calls if you still call the same amount of time and have that power dialer. I at the moment I'm only considering power dialers, not parallel dialers. I don't
Yeah,
think that that's something we would need to have.
yeah.
But yeah, so we don't have one yet at this point.
Interesting. Well, I think all of these are good options for connectivity. There are a lot of things I've been learning recently about dialers and how they actually protect the numbers from getting marked as spam, how they make sure like you get better connection rates. Front spin and phone burner might also be really good to look at, especially for a US team. Um, yeah, you're looking at good options there with things like Nooks. You say Nooks and Orem you were looking at.
Nux, Orm, and Trellis were the three that I've had chats with for now.
All good, all very good. They are more probably like the parallel or the power dialers. But if you just wanted a simple click to dial type dialer, more traditional front spin and phone burner, they've put all their effort into making sure you actually get connections. So they will monitor the spam, they will call the carriers, make sure that the numbers aren't getting marked and all that type of stuff, and really
Okay,
protect them, rather than
that's interesting.
most other dialers where they will buy their numbers from Twilio and then they will have to rely on Twilio to do that.
Got it. Got it. Okay, that's good to know.
Little consideration there. If so, for now, haven't got dialer in place. What about any other outreach? Are there any other tools and things, or are we sort of looking at close to what you've got in place at the moment?
Not really. We've got some queries going on with figuring out our email deliverability,
Mm-hmm.
because it's one thing to go, oh, I've sent this many emails, but do we know whether it lands in an inbox or in a spam box, etc.? I don't know what tools would be best for that necessarily, because I know they're there.
Yeah, honestly, like you could look at. I think everyone knows Instantly and Smart Lead are kind of like at the top of the game for those. But I'd also maybe consider something like Salesforce.
Okay.
Salesforce, they've got InfraForge, MailForge, WarmForge. You see them all here. They basically built like an ecosystem. I spoke to Frank, the CEO over there recently. He was explaining that in the same way as Microsoft created their ecosystem of tools where you've got Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, and you can just have one of them, but then quite quickly you end up using all of them because they work together. He's done the same for email infrastructure. I'm starting with Salesforce, so that might be one to also look at as well. So excellent. So we're kind of here then with like the final stack which you're using. There's a couple of considerations that you're looking at the moment, but for now we've got Salesforce, Cognism, LinkedIn, Salesloft / Outreach, and then gone. Any other tools? Any other things that maybe, and also Scratchpad, which I haven't got on here yet.
Scratchpad, I'm just trying to think. We like Chili Piper sits in the background, of course, for all our automated scheduling and stuff like that. We use Hyperbound
Yep.
as well for our call practicing, our onboarding, and all of that kind of stuff. We've got Noble.
What's Noble?
Do you know Noble?
No,
My goodness. So you have to go and investigate this one.
I will.
So Noble, our marketing team has used that for a while. It's when you go on our website, you'll see that you can find out which of our customers is in your network that you can connect to, and that you can connect to them outside of us.
Yeah, yeah.
We are now also trialing that and working that within our SDR outreach, where you can go like, oh, I'm reaching out to this prospect, and then the tool will tell us, oh, by the way, this prospect knows this person and this person and this person and these three of your customers. So you can suggest that they reach out to them to hear about how well Cognism is working for them.
Yeah, yeah. That is really powerful.
Yeah, and they've also literally just last week built that out that it pops up when you're doing your calls.
Nice.
So you can bring it up saying, hi, did you know that this person from there,
Yeah,
who clearly they should then know,
yeah.
is also using it?
That's so good. And as me and you both, I'm sure, tell our SDRs and stuff is like, great credibility in the call, relevance in the call is going to help get you further. And normally you're referring to customers which are in that vertical, or are of similar size or have a similar story. But Noble makes that like much more powerful on every call, saying the exact customers that they're connected
And
to.
that will be someone who they genuinely are aware of. And I think the background there is maybe not even about credibility or starting that conversation easier, but it's very much about realizing that the buying motions have changed and people do a lot more research before they talk to an actual vendor, right?
Yeah,
And this is
absolutely.
almost just trying to accommodate that and helping them, going like, just go talk to them, it's fine, don't talk to
Yeah,
us, talk to
yeah,
them first,
absolutely.
and then we'll get back in touch. So that's one that we've got going as well.
That sounds amazing. And you say that can also sit on the website. So if I went to Cognism's site, it would suggest to me.
It should there should be a banner at the top, I think, that you can then have see that.
That's really good. One of the things I've been looking at a lot recently is like the website traffic. Rightly or wrongly, people kind of want to really track who's visiting the website and then follow up on it. And it has such varying degrees of like intent. And often, chatbots, again, varying successes I've seen at different businesses, but majority of traffic that comes to the chatbots, they're likely customers asking for help with something. It's not really that useful for the SDRs, right? One of the tools that I've seen recently called RealFlow, it pops up, you can record a little video and that will pop up, and I'm going to put it on Stakki soon. So it will come up and it'll have me actually just introducing myself, giving a little bit more trust, giving a little bit more awareness. There's more people trying to look at ways to actually make better use of the website, but Noble sounds like that sounds powerful.
Yeah, should reach out to them, have a chat.
I will do. Excellent. So we've got good stack here. I think it's kind of what you'd expect for like an enterprise stack. Unfortunately, you've got a few other smart little tools there which are going to make your team even more effective as well, which I haven't got on Stakki. But we've got solid data, ability to build really good lists, execute outreach, and then you've also got a focus on enablement with Gong and doing lots of coaching.
And then just to throw something else in, like every single employee within Cognism also has like a monthly AI budget
Oh yeah,
that they get to spend on a AI tool of choice, I would almost call it, right? So
yeah,
some use it to get like Chat GPT Pro or something like that, or Perplexity.
yeah.
They can pick what they feel they want to add to it.
That's cool. And are they sort of allowed to like integrate that into some of the other tools and like their workflows, or would they, if they had like a Chat GPT Pro license, would they use that on the side to just support the work, or can they actually? It might be hard if we've got every
That's a
single
very
SDR.
good question. I don't know. I know that Perplexity and ChatGPT are part of like the daily workflow of an SDR for when they're researching accounts and stuff like that. But how in the back end it's integrated, yes or no, I genuinely do not know.
Yeah, because that would be a nightmare if you had every single SDR every month chopping and changing, integrating different things. It could get messy.
Yeah, so I take
Also
it
a
it's
great
just
way to
on
learn.
the side. They can get on it and use it when they need to.
But it'd also be a really good way, I guess, to test and learn in this like crazy like AI sales tech space that we've all created. What's actually good and what's helping my SDRs, and top performer over here, they've started using this tool. Well, that's actually helping them. So let's actually roll that out across everyone else. Whereas someone testing something else, okay, that's just distracted you for that's not
No,
actually working. So
totally.
let's swap that.
Totally, and we've got a similar thing when it comes to like our videos. You know, we've got like Loom and Vidyard. I think
Yeah,
they're like half the team is on the one, another half of the team is on the other. Just
yeah.
like, okay, I like this one better.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like I used to use Vidyard, now I have Loom. I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
it's whichever has like a nicer interface with those videos. It's click, record, send it.
Hmm.
It's whichever. My personal opinion is just whichever has like the best UX, or I prefer. Excellent. Well, look, Absolutely great having you on the show, Catherine. I'm sure people have been really interested in the tools that people are using over at Cognism with such a big team. Listening to the VP of Sales Dev with all of your experience, and great to get some insights onto like what you think the golden metrics or golden team sizes are, because that's something we see people ask all the time. So yeah, everyone, please go and search Build with Stakki over at YouTube, like and subscribe, and follow us for more videos.
Thanks, James.
Thanks.